Hey, welcome back to Glorious Vibes. It's a beautiful afternoon, and I just want to welcome you in this space and thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching. It's always exciting and motivating to know that you're putting things out there. People are interested in and also excited in when you have some of these questions come up. So definitely super thankful for your continued ideas and topics that you continue to send my way. Keep those coming. I appreciate that. And before I continue today, I want to encourage you again to make sure that you're subscribing and also that you are liking and sharing because it's really important that we do that. Like I said, we'll continue to share the vibes. That's the whole point of this, is making sure that we're sharing, that we're not keeping to ourselves. And so if you find today's video worthy to be shared, worthy of really cool things, important topics that could generate potential conversational points, please don't hesitate to forward and to share, and definitely don't forget to subscribe. Today I wanna talk about parenting, because I think that's a really important topic to be to talk about. And this is one of those things where sometimes it's just we take it for granted, right? It is parenting. Everybody who has like kids, they know what parenting is, and so what's the fuss about it, right? I'm going to talk about parenting, but I talk about parenting specifically from a black parent perspective, from my own perspective, because I don't want to claim like my experience is everybody's experience, because it's not. And so I don't want to just sit here and say, yeah, I'm going to talk on behalf of all the black parents, all the black fathers. That's not my point. My point is I want to speak to parenting from my own experience as a black parent and as a black father too. So that's going to be kind of like the center of my topic today. And again, encouraging you to kind of share, comment, and ideas and things just come up. That'd be really, really interesting. So I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, right? A friend of mine, we're just, having conversation, just also happened to be a neighbor. And one of the things that he observed was that I'm always hesitant, right? That's his word. You're hesitant to kind of let your son go out with my son. Why you always hesitant? And this is not the first time that I've heard that, and it's not the first time that I want to say I don't want to say it's not true, because it is true. And that's kind of like part of the point of it, right? I'll get into that, but that he's asking me, my hesitation made me pause and like kind of hesitated to share slightly, but I did, and I had a candid, honest conversation, which went from him saying, I can understand, right? And then I thought, well, you can't really understand, because you don't understand something that you don't experience, something that you don't have any experience in. It is hard to say that you understand, because you don't really know. You don't know something until you've experienced it, and once you've experienced something, then it's easier to say you understand because you've experienced it. And that's one thing that I'll caution people often, like that's kind of like a full mode too, if you will. Often we just jump to I understand, and it's always like, if you really haven't experienced something, you can't understand. So let's try to refrain from the I understand part. I get it, it's a human thing, but just be conscious and be aware of that. Anyways, point is, so when he asked me that questions, and I just started to reflect, on the whole idea of parenting, and the whole idea of being a black parent, a black father in the United States, right? And having black kids, right? And what that means. And, for a while there, like I wasn't, even really thinking hard. I knew there's some things that I do, but really did not think about them, and still don't. They just second nature. They happen, right? I don't even have to think twice. And it's got to be psychological. There is something where you experience, so much things that, some things just start to happen, right? It's that thing about like you go through an experience where you become aware, right? I think I was watching a documentary about people who were like once Secret Service, right? And so whenever they're out of the service, or like, they go out in the open, they're always looking over their shoulder, right? Because that's the world you live in. And so if you live in that world, that just stays with you. And everything that you do is always, you kind of always just, there's a trigger. There's a natural trigger that I don't know if it's already there that you expand on. It's something that you develop internally. But that's what that is, right? For me, that's exactly what that is. It is a place of like making certain decisions, and just without even thinking twice, until somebody points to those and say, hey, I've noticed that. I've noticed that, and I realize, yeah, I do those things, right? I do those things. Why do I do those things? Before I start, I've already started. Let me just say this. If you think parenting is hard, Black parenting is double hard, is triple hard, is quadruple hard. If I am to put it that way, right? Because everything else, every challenge that you face as it relates to parenting, for a Black parent, it is double the challenge. And I would say the same thing. It is double the joy, right? It is also double the opportunities. I'll give you an example. I don't know how many people get to think twice about where they want to live. I'm not talking about money, affording it or not. That's not the question, right? Well, you have to think twice about where you want to live. The way you do research is completely different than just anybody would do research, because when as a Black parent, you're doing research, you're looking at things from how diverse the school district is. You're looking at what potential white supremacist group may be in the area, or groups may be in the area. You're looking at the history of killings in the area. You're looking at the history of law enforcement as it relates to BIPOCs, people of color. There's a whole lot of things that go into that. So the first thing you're looking at is really not, of course you're looking at, is it affordable? But if you're going to decide to live in an area, you must make sure that you've already kind of, that question is already out. But the point is, the way you do a research on that is completely different from somebody who's not, a Black parent, because it's completely different. It's even harder, right? You do even more work and even more research when you are thinking about moving into a predominantly white neighborhood, right? Because again, there's a lot of things that go into play in that. And sometimes you do those things, you're not even thinking about them. It's not like you're going in there like thinking, oh my gosh, should be this and that. You just do. They become second nature, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. But they become second nature. Like it's like a result of your experience. You start to do those things naturally, right? So where you live and the schools that your kids get to attend, you're thinking and you're double working. You are double thinking. You have to double think. Even when your kids go to school and you go, I think about every time I go meet my kids' teachers, right? I'm telling you, my antennas are on alert at all times. Just hearing what they get to say, how they, how they show up and what space they're in. I don't know if this is everybody. And I'm telling you, it's not intentional. When I pick my kid going in a car and, we go to the school, we're going to meet the teachers like everybody else. But my antennas are just up, right? They're just up because I have to ask double the questions. I have to be double alert, right? And the stress of that, and I don't know if anybody's ever done, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of studies that, would definitely touch to that. But the stresses of that, of double thinking, triple thinking everything, right? where you are double alerted, right? Triple, if you will. There's a toll on that. And I want to bet that there is probably, like, that has an impact on your, how long you get to leave, right? So I'm just putting all of those things out there. For those who have gone through that, it is hard. It's double, right? And this is, and I'll get to a point in a bit. To the point I was talking about, my friend asking me, why are you always on edge, always alerted? My son is a big kid. And when you see him, you would think like this dude is a man, right? But he ain't. He's just a kid. And so I have to be alerted, right? So every place he gets to go to, I notice that I'm there. Like, I let him go someplace with his friends, but like every 30 minutes, I'm checking in or just passing, but to just it's just there. And I don't think this is like, parents get to do that. No, I don't think so, right? But there's just that level of trust that is lessened because of the history in this country. And those are the things that, usually you don't see. Like, people just don't talk about. Like, we don't talk about those things because they become second nature. Like, you tell people, like, people are going to be listening and paying attention and really caring. But if people don't really care, you're like, you know what? This becomes just an internal thing, right? This becomes just a family thing, right? And you get to discuss those with your family and things like that. So, but it is double hard. It is challenging. It is that the ability to be on alert at all times is the thing that's the most challenging, right? I remember my kid asking me, like, Dad, can I bike to the park? Sometimes I let him, and sometimes I'm like, no, I'm taking you there, right? And I'm very strict in terms of like what time they get to. As soon as it starts to get even a slightly dark, right? And the park isn't really far, right? He's on a bike. He has his own cell phone, but I still do not trust, right? I still do not trust that, I should let my guards down. I let him go, but my guards are always up. And that's what it means to be a black parent. That's what it means to black parent in America. Your guards are always up, right? And again, it's like, I'm pretty sure that has an impact. But one of the things that I do sometimes is, even my guards are up, I'm just like, let me try to figure out a way to play it normal, right? How do you explain it to a kid who still is trying to figure out the world and try to understand the world? Not to scare them, but to just tell them, this is what the world looks like. This is how the world is, right? For them to be able to get it. This is the world we live in. It's okay to be you. It's okay to build character. It's okay to go and have fun. It's okay to socialize. And at the same time, you have to understand that the world around you, there may be some people who see things differently, right? It may be slightly dangerous. Actually, it is dangerous, right? So it's like the challenges are double, as I was saying. And there's a lot more challenges and more examples that I can give you. Like, I go to the store, we go shopping, and it's some high-end stores, and I'm making sure that I'm there, right? Because I don't want anybody mistaking him, like, oh, here's this black boy, like, walking in a store, and then somebody taking it differently. And one of the other things is like, me being present and being involved and making them understand too, right? Making them self-aware, not to kind of trigger anything in them, but making them self-aware of those kinds of things. And the other thing I realize is, like, when it's night, evening time, I try to minimize going anywhere with them as much as I can, right? Because I don't know what I may run into unless I really, really have to. Right? In which case, I'm very, very, very aware of the speed limit. I'm very aware of, like, everything around me. I'm basically doing everything possible not to be pulled over with my kids in the car. And so one of the things is they stay home, or I'm going 5 miles less, right? And observing everything in front of me, because I don't want to have anything that has to do with in interacting in that moment right? Or putting myself in a situation, to be able to just have to face law enforcement, because you don't know who you're gonna get. You may get something crazy, and we've seen it play out in front of our screen every single day, right? And so, or you may just get somebody nice, but you see, I don't want to take a chance. And that's the thing that you get to live with. That's the thing that you have to deal with as a black parent. You don't want to take it, you don't get a chance, right? But that also comes with being involved in your kids' lives, being in your family's life, right? It comes with caring too, right? And sometimes it's like, I hear people talk about like, I don't want to be a helicopter parent. Let me just say this. If you are a black parent, my goodness, I'm telling you, helicoptering your kids may be the very best thing you could ever do, because they're trying to figure out the world and you're trying to guide them through that, because they don't know it. They don't get it. I get conversations with, my young boys, and sometimes things that they tell me, I'm just laughing because I'm like, wow, they're still just so innocent. They don't get it. They don't understand it. And they should be innocent. But you see, the world around is saying, no, there's no such a thing, we have a set of rules here. And for you, it's different. It's a different set of rules. And so those are the things that you're like, you get even to a place where you're constantly overthinking everything. What is the possibility of, X, Y, Z? What is the possibility of this happening? To the simplest of things. A kid being at the park, right? Before before you leave them, they're like 13. They're supposed to be okay. But you're overthinking the possibilities. That's what it means to be a black parent. And you leave them there, but you're constantly thinking, you're constantly checking in. You still at peace, but you're just being, it's like you become overly cautious, right? And if somebody says, well, yeah, you know what, you could just let go, and I would say, because you don't really understand. You don't really understand, right? If you were in the shoes of a black parent, it'd be a different story. So, and that's one of the things that, I tell my friends is, there's a history and there are reasons, right? If I was in Africa, I wouldn't even care a bit, right? Because I grew up, community it means a lot. But it's different. It's different. And I'm going to do everything possible. And I know one thing is true, like, things may happen. I understand that. I get it. But you know what? I'm going to do everything in my powers that I can, right, to make sure that my kids are safe. And so if that means being on my edge all the time, I'm just going to do that. If that means having those conversations over and over again, if that means I feel sorry for them, because obviously they want to ride to a gas station with their friends in the neighborhood, and have to think twice. Sometimes I say yes and sometimes I say no. If it's like 6 o'clock and it's starting to kind of get a little dark, definitely no. If it's like 2 o'clock, I may say yes. Sometimes I may just say, let me give you a ride, right? Or they want to go to a movie with his friends, right? I need to think about the distance, where it is, who you going with, and it like sometimes I stop the things I'm doing to make sure that I drop him off, right? All of those things is, again, you're double thinking, triple thinking, quadruple thinking about the simplest of things. But you see, it's history. It's history it's a history of where we live. It is where we are. So those are some of the things that sometimes you don't get to see. You see the smiles, the excitement, everything is great, life is good. What you don't see is the stress of the simplest of things. Raising kids in a community becomes the most stressful thing ever, especially when you're talking about black boys. To help build their character and self-esteem in the process too, really important, right? But for them, it's even harder, because not only are we navigating this space, they're also navigating different cultures. And sometimes I feel really bad for them, right? And those of you who are recent immigrants will understand this, right? Where you're trying to, the food is different at home than what they eat at school. When we go out, right, the language that we speak is slightly different. The culture is different on certain things, right? And so all of those things, it's like, it becomes even more stressful for them, right? Because You're constantly teaching every day. You never stop. You're continuing to talk, continuing to educate, continuing to build that character, continuing to teach. But you're doing it in so many different ways and so many different layers. So you just hope that they'll hold on to as much as possible, but that is not gonna confuse them, because they too want to know, right? They want to know. They want to know how kids behave. They want to know if in Africa we were allowed to go outside and to run, and I have to have a conversation like, yeah, we were. And when they come back to me like, so why aren't you letting me do that? I have to get back to like, okay, well, let's talk about where we are. And I hate doing that, because I should be able to just say, you know what, you're right. Go out and have fun. Go out and just be a kid. But I can't, because society here is basically told them, you're not a kid. You're a black boy, you're a threat. You look a certain way, right? I don't need to educate anybody on this, because we've all seen it play out in front of our eyes all the time. And at the same time, there are opportunities too. But also the opportunities, they also take as much double the effort, if not triple the effort, right? It's the same thing. Whether the challenges, opportunities is the same thing, because when you're trying to build their uniqueness in the world and character, you're doing it thinking. You're doing it, with in the back of your mind, knowing that society is, wherever they are, they may try to be undermined. They're gonna face challenges. Things I would tell them you're not good enough, like the things that I faced when I was starting school. I remember going to meet with my advisor, and when I say I wanted to be a doctor, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, have you considered social work? Plainly, basically telling me that you're not good enough to become a doctor, right? It's those things, right? That they're going to face those things. And so I need to keep that in the back of my mind when I am trying to build their character, when I am trying to help them develop, right? To become unique in their own ways. I have to think about all those things. And so, you see, you're overthinking all the time. I have to think about examples of black doctors and black engineers and black scientists and so on and so forth, and say, you see, right? And I'm thinking constantly, because representation still remains minimal. I remember going in one of my kids' classroom, and I walk in a classroom, and I see every other map except the map of Africa. And I'm thinking, wow, this is interesting. This is supposed to be a social studies classroom. There's every other map and there is no map of Africa. Well, how is he supposed to find himself in there, right? Because he's black, right? And those are the things, again, that's what I'm talking about, where you're thinking. I started questioning the social studies. So I had to have a conversation with the teacher, right? And there was a whole bunch of stuff there that I don't want to get into. But those are the things you think about. You're like, you know what? When I look at some of these social studies books, they touch on really kind of high level things in some of the most developed countries in Africa, mostly Southern Africa and Northern Africa. Africa is much bigger than that. But I realized that, what they are learning is more of really Western white history for the most part, social studies. And so I have to incorporate some certain things. Luckily for me, we're already doing that. That's what I'm talking about. Black parenting, when you have to think twice, where your eyes are really targeted. You're looking at every single thing that takes, every single thing that is like out of the way, to be able to adjust on your own, to be able to add on, to build, to make sure that your kid's uniqueness is character is there. And that takes a lot of being present, right? Because you can't do those things if you're not present. If you're not present, you are not there. You wouldn't notice. And so it requires a lot of being there, being understanding, and being present. But the challenges with that is, again, we all know the history of this country, right? With incarcerations and so on and so forth. So it puts a lot of kids at disadvantage, because I think, in my opinion, that our kids need both parents. They do. I believe that. I believe that. And so to be able to be raised without that, is a disadvantage for kids. And so again, that's a topic for another day. But again, if you with all the challenges we have to go through, to overthink, to do things double, to put in double effort more than everybody else, it requires our presence. You got to be present. You got to be there. And I've seen some statistics, about 70% of black fathers are absent. I'm just like, that's nonsense. That is nonsense. We're there, working hard, thinking harder, and sometimes at the expense of our own health, but we're there. We're doing that on a regular basis, every day, right? And that takes a lot. Takes a toll on our mental health. Takes a toll on our health. Takes a toll. And these are the things you don't see. So when you see that black father, that black mother comes to work the next day, you see the smile, you have no idea what we're dealing with in the community as it relates to our kids. How much we are double, quadruple, triple thinking everything, right? But then we have to show up Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday for some, right? Put in double shifts, working hard and going back again to do the same thing over and over again. All of those things are the things that, most of the time people don't show. They don't see them. You just don't see them. But they're there. Those are the things that you get to experience. So when your colleagues is showing up to work, when your colleague is having a conversation with you, I want you to just consider those things. When you're talking to them, when you're trying to understand what's going on, when they say they need that mental health day, when they say they need that time off, right? Are you being supportive? Because the things that everybody else get to do, not overthink, they are overthinking. They are triple thinking. They're quadruple thinking about those things, right? Because it's having an impact on them. So those are some of the things that I'm asking you to think about. Extending that grace, because it is really hard. And if you are a teacher thinking about those things, being aware of those things, really, really important, right? Thinking, just be aware of that. That's what I'm saying to you. Just be aware of that. Next time you see a black father, next time you see a black mother, next time you see black parents, right? Be aware of that. And please, refrain from that. I know exactly how you feel because I'm a parent too, because we parent differently, because we face different challenges, right? And I would say this, there's also a difference between a kid who has both parents are black, right? Versus a kid who's mixed. There's a huge difference too in terms of the challenges. They still black. You're still black. I mean, some of the challenges, but they are differences, and those are some of the things we need to talk about. And I don't want to touch into all of that. I just want to talk about that. I think we've all heard about colorism. It's there, and so we could talk about that another day. But what I wanted to end today's vibe and conversation is on the joy, that at the same time that you are overthinking those things, you are also happy because you are there, you're present, you see things, you get ahead of things. That I get to call out a social studies teacher who, if I wasn't there, wasn't present, wasn't really paying attention to what was in the classroom, that map would have never been put there, right? That I get to be so alerted that I am present, at the park, in these social settings, in these areas where something was to happen, I'm ready to kind of jump in that, right? To be able to know that my kid, at the end of the day, they're going to be home and they're going to be safe at home. The joys of that. Because you don't spend 13, 17, 18, 21 years, 25 years, whatever years of raising a kid, right? Just somebody else to come and take him, or for them to turn out to be totally somebody else, right? Because of the impact of society. And so, again, I'm going to say that I speak for me, but I think this experience is true for other black parents. I try to take the burden from my kids away from them, that they don't get to experience all of these things at such an early age, such a young age. I try to take all that mental burden, all the burden. I want to take it all on me. Anybody can question whether that's healthy or not, but that's the choice I have. my kids, right? At the end of the day, I want them to come home and be healthy, be out there in society, be productive, be excel in everything that they do, be successful, and that's what I'm looking for. And so I'm going to do everything possible. If that requires me to think about something as simple as catching a bus on your own to go to school and overthinking that and how I can change my own schedule to make sure that I'm doing the dropping off versus them to, catching public transportation, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because I don't know. Because there's a history. When you live in neighborhoods where there's a history of kids being disappearing, black kid being found hanging on top of a tree, it changes your perspective. But those are the things that we don't talk about. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't bring those conversations up in certain areas. We have them at dinner tables, right? And I do that in a strategic way, so not to spook my kids or anything like that. But you see, those are the things that we get to talk about. And sometimes we laugh about it. But I am very aware and very thoughtful about how I'm going to allow certain things to happen. Because in the end, I want my kids to come home safe. In the end, I want to make sure that they're still here, succeeding, excellent in everything they undertake. That when I'm gone, they will still be here. Aware, having strong character, using their uniqueness to be special, because I think they are special, right? And that's the wish of every parent. But as a black parent, you just have to do it differently. You just have to do it double. You just have to put in triple shift, quadruple shift. And that's just a reality of what we face every day, right? It's the mental damage that, I think about sometimes, and often I'm just like, it is what it is, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes. And if that means that, I'm being impacted at some, level, I'm being impacted at some level, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That is what it's going to take for me to not have to experience what Tamir Rice's parents had to experience. Breonna Taylor, right? Those things, they stick with you. And you think about everything every day with that. So, and to just also, acculturate them to different cultures that they get to experience every day. Being at home and just to experience different things, different cultures from different countries, because it's just where their parents happen to come from, right? The joys of that they get to eat different food, right? Healthy food. That they get to experience different languages, for example, that they get to watch a different movie in different places where there's more representation, that we're spending time, like a weekend, right? Going through that, experiencing a different country from the comfort of our couches at home. Things like that, right? Talking about things like that. There's a lot of joy. But you see, the other thing is, that's not intentional either. Subconsciously, there is something in there that says we have to do that. Because if I was in Africa, like a predominantly black country, it'd be different. Totally different. Completely different. I wouldn't have to do any of that teaching, right? They'll be out playing. They'll be out, learning the culture, the food, and everything else. But that is also, the approach is also is built on and heavily influenced by where we are, right? Again, it is that it is so subconscious, it's just there. You don't even have to think about that. It's just there, right? And it's not because you don't want them to lose, the values, to lose their cultures, or to lose anything. It's because you're so aware of what's around you and what they're being exposed to. And in so many different ways, you want to counter that, right? You want to counter that. So the joys that come with that is just, you can't put a price on it. But like I said, it's tough. It's challenging, right? As a black parent, it's the hardest thing and the most exciting and rewarding thing too. And I know, all of you have different experiences. And this is a really good platform to be able to share some of those experiences so people can understand and other people can also relate and connect in so many different ways and figure out, like, what are some of the things that actually work, to keep our kids safe, and build their characters, and build their uniqueness, so that one, they can be safe, but also they can excel in the society that we live in. So thank you for joining me again on this latest vibe. And once again, before I leave, I would like to encourage you to please make sure that you subscribe, and make sure that you hit the like button, and share. Definitely share. We want to continue to share, to learn together, to educate together, to grow together, because that's really important for all of us. We only get better if we share our own experiences, and I think there's healing power in there too. The ability to be able to share, because I know that helped me a lot. To be able to share, there's some healing, because there's something that's there that you get to be allowed to be out there, and other people get to be able to connect in some ways and relate, which touch on the whole idea of Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu, like a community idea of we're in this together, right? Like, I'm not experiencing this as an individual. Like, I'm not the only one experiencing this. There are other people who are going through the same experiences, and kind of learning from each other, and connecting, and also figuring out, like, what are some of the things that work. So it'll be exciting to kind of hear some of the things that's worked for you, some of the ways that you've also approached this. Anyways, I appreciate you. I thank you for, again, being here. Until next time, I'll talk to you next time. All right. Take care. Ciao.